You.
So I'm just skipping this conversation because basically saying, lol, 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 you're the chosen one, I'm hallucinating.
Please, sire, we must keep moving.
And basically, he's escaping from assassins. Assassins are after him. And there's a secret
Better not
pathway
close
through this
door.
jail cell.
There's no way to open it from the other side.
So, naturally,
This is your lucky day.
you get to go
Stay
out with
out of
them.
our way.
Because there's no way they're gonna stop you. So a few things about combat in this game. You have your basic sort of attacks, but then you have power attacks of various kinds, like
Stand
side,
aside, prisoner.
forward, and just standing still. Now, they don't matter too much early game, the differences between them, except this one sort of moves you forward. But later on, when you get some skills, skill expertise and some things, for example, a side attack with a sword later on in the game disarms people. Which of course is incredibly powerful, because once they're disarmed, they'll try to pick up their weapon again and will be on the ground. But of course you can just push them off the weapon and flurry them down. You also have blocks, a lot more powerful with a shield.
Captain Reno.
Now you may have noticed a bit of a time skip in my voice. This is because if you look at the top left corner, you might be able to see my mouse cursor. So essentially, whenever I click that top left corner, the game alt-tabs me out. Now, this is really bad, because then I can't alt-tab back in, and it screws the recording process up completely.
Sorry, son, but we have to keep moving.
So anyway, I'll give you a few basics on weaponry now. All weapons have a basic damage value that goes up with your skill in said weapon's blunt or blade. For some unknown reason, axes are considered blunt. Now, anyway, all weapons have a length value, which you can't see, depending on how long the weapon is. For example, that you can see that is longer than that. Now that means I can attack people further away with this, but that weighs double that. And depending on the weight of a weapon, you swing faster or you swing slower, and it takes up more inventory space. So because this is early game, I'm not too worried about the length of my weapon. I just want something that can swing fast and kill things fast. Because keeping your opponents at bay isn't too important in the early game. Some sort of evil-looking orc now. With wrist irons. And he's naked. Well, sort of. Another little pleasure of this game is leaving your opponents butt naked, and oh, that doesn't look too good. And then you can sort of play with their corpses, because it's fun. Yes, it's quite stylish. Ooh. So anyway, here's your first bit of combat. Get some rats. Sorry viewers, I just cocked up there. So you can see here what a block does. It blocks them off and they get stunned for a little while. This is important in the later game because you can block your opponents and then power attack. This is the most common strategy for early game for me. Well, for me personally, because I have a tendency to fail miserably at certain things, such as staying alive. So I love blocking. Blocking is a very useful tool I use a lot. So we have a skull. You can of course go to be or not to be. Wah. And of course I like playing around with the physics objects. So anyway, this is the lock picking game. Whenever you locks to pick, you have a little lock pick here. You can see the tumblers for the lock. Your objective is to get them all up at the top there, and you left click to set one in place. But if you miss, you lose a pick. Or some tumblers come down, depending on how hard the tumbler is. And that's based off your security skill. So what you'll see around this corner is a rat. Also, the physics of bows are pretty decent in this game. So you can see I have a bow now. and prime it, you shoot, and physics happens. And the nice thing about bow weapons, which I won't be using, is you can get your arrows back sometimes, depending on how good a shot you are. The only problem is that sometimes you're just sitting there shooting so many arrows, finding all the arrows that missed is sometimes a pain. So here we are in the ruins of, well, whatever the hell is under the jail. Essentially getting out of the jail. We meet up with the king again later, of course, and he dies. Because he has to die. Part of the plot. There'd be no plot if he didn't die. And there you could see an effective use of the forward power attack against low-level monsters. Now here we have some heavy armor. Much like weapons, armor has a weight value. Now, the thing about armor is that the more weight it has, the more fatigue you use when swinging weapons and running around. Heavy armor tends to have more armor value in the end, and when you level up your armor skill high enough, the weight starts to matter less because you get little bonuses that decrease what you need. I like to use heavy armor personally, particularly since this is I'm trying to survive this playthrough. Now you notice earlier I talked about fatigue. If you look at the bottom left, you'll notice a green bar that's going down as I swing. Now when that's lower, enemies are a higher chance to knock me down, and I deal less damage. So after combat, or in long combat, every now and then you kind of just want to run away. So jumping takes up a lot of fatigue, particularly with heavy armor. But you want to run away, recover a little, because otherwise you're just going to be sitting there going swing, 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 and, well, nothing dies. So, here's our first monster that can actually take a tick to kill. It's an angry zombie. There may be a few graphics glitches, because I've played this game and naturally it corrupts over time. One of the major glitches is frost bells. Aren't too pretty. They turn into purple squares. So anyway, you can see how that took like 6 or so swings. The later zombies can take up to like 20. Particularly with Francesco, stuff just has a lot of health in this game. Hits you pretty hard. Those rats, of course, don't have much health, but that's because they're your classic rats in the cellar. Oh my god, go kill them, please. Quest. So naturally, just want to kill them before they hit you. Of course, this game has a rest feature if I can find the button. Ah, yes. What this does is it acts like all adventure games. You can just sit down, rest, recover for a little while. Ooh. I think when you step on rats, they should take damage. Apparently they don't, though. So anyway, when I'm looting some things, you notice I'm about to become encumbered. I think. No. That's the maximum weight you can carry. After a while, it slows you down if you have too much stuff, and it just screws you over. So my general rule is, when looting, use a weight to gold ratio. For example, that's 2 weight to 10 gold. So I'd keep that over something like the rat meat, if I had a lot of it. Bones have an infinite ratio, which is real bad. So you want to get rid of all that stuff. Lockpicks are fantastic to sell for money early on, but you generally want to keep them, particularly as a class that doesn't take the skill required to not screw yourself over whenever you miss in the game. Then there's the lockpicking game.